All right, super pumped up about our next talk because of the fact that this individual is coming to us from one of the most well-respected marketing tech firms in the entire world. SEMRush is well recognized in the space of keyword SEO strategy, and not to scare anybody with big words like search engine optimization, but we've already said algorithm a few times today, so might as well drop that one on you, right? It is a digital marketing conference. Before I fully introduce our next guest, we found a phone with a Mophie tied to it. Jim, I got you, brother.
Yeah, bro. I was like, oh!
Nice. 2 ticks and a dog, Jim. Is that what you got to do to get right? There you go. So, within the next 2 years, we're still trying to figure out how to come up on first place, first positioning from a Google perspective when somebody types in some sort of search into a search bar. But the world is changing dramatically right in front of our eyes. We had Nate Riggs here a couple years ago talking about this very topic, and it's here. And the reason why you know that voice-activated search within the next 2 years is supposed to compromise 50% of all internet search is you just have to go home, and when you're watching a television show, you can see that these billion-dollar organizations like Apple, like Google, like Amazon, and maybe some of you, hands, how many people have a smart home or device in their home to run, right? So it's, hey Alexa, hey Siri, hey Google, and if you're at my house, you hook it up for 4 hours on a Sunday, and it doesn't work. So much for my digital competency. So you can see that this is the way and the position that the market is going. So with no further ado, back from a keynote in Brazil and South America, obviously, and in Seattle, Washington, and then a webinar online yesterday for over 1,000 people. It's with a great pleasure that I get to introduce to you today from SEMRush, Maryna Hradovich. I hope I got that right.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. How are we doing today? Excellent. I'm very excited to be with you today and share some information about mobile search and where everything is going. Are you excited about that? Okay, but before we do that, let me quickly introduce myself a little bit more. I have been in the industry for about a decade, and I'm with SEMRush. And let me ask you, how many of us know SEMRush? Wow, is everyone using SEMRush? Okay, quite a few of us, excellent. And let me go further. As you probably know, mobile searches had overcome desktop searches. And based on SEMRush data, about 60% of all searches are conducted on mobile devices. This is a big trend. However, very often businesses don't really realize that. They think mobile doesn't apply to me. This has happened to a lady that I met about a year ago at Digital Summit in Philadelphia. She had her own small business. She sells flowers. She realizes that a lot of her customers are coming from organic search. However, when I asked her, have you been doing for mobile anything? And she said, no, mobile doesn't apply to me. But look at this trend. Even on the lowest end, about 40% of all traffic to business is coming from mobile. This is for boring industry as banking. However, this percentage goes up to 70% for food and beverages. This is when we conduct searches on our phone. When we are looking to get a drink or restaurant, it's very common that we will be just using our voice search. And as you can see, the more mobile-friendly your website is, the more customers you should expect. And it's obvious, because user experience should be amazing. People, when they come to your website, they should be able to click at the buttons easily, because sometimes the shift is very small, or the buttons are really small. So you need to eliminate all the distractions from users' experience, and you will get more sales. Google hasn't been sleeping. Google has been looking at our behavior as users for all this time and trying to think what it could do in order to satisfy us as users. And introduce different algorithms, such as you can see, mobile friendliness algorithm was released in 2015. Then Google announced mobile-first indexing that is going to be coming, and it's already here, and we will be speaking about that. Also, Google started penalizing companies for using interstitials. These are those ad pop-ups that come on your phone that you hate. And lastly, mobile speed. Why is speed important? We are going to speak about this because now it's also a ranking factor. And our agenda for today will be mobile-first indexing, because this is one of the biggest changes that Google is making. Speed, again, because this is the biggest trend. And lastly, we will be speaking about AI and machine learning. Let me start with mobile-first indexing. Is everyone familiar with mobile-first indexing? Okay, some of you in the room. Did you see already changes happening that Google switched websites from desktop to mobile? Yeah, some of you. I feel like it's very important for us to understand what is mobile-first indexing and why we need to pay attention to that. Google has been using desktop index for a long time, and all the rankings and all the signals were coming from desktop. However, right now, Google is making a big change. Right now, it's not going to be as much about desktop. It's going to be all about mobile. And we as marketers need to change our mindset from desktop first to mobile first. Why is that important? Because there are still websites that have a separate mobile version of the site that starts usually m. And they can lose a lot of rankings and a lot of revenue if they didn't make appropriate changes. If you have a responsive website, you don't have to worry as much. Let me give you an example. Here are some of the main issues that websites experience. The crawl path may be broken, key content may be missing, SEO tags may be missing, also structured data, and some other elements. I'm going to give you a few actual examples, so we'll be all on the same page and you get the point. Let's take a look at a travel blog. As you can see, total number of pages and desktop is about 3,000. On mobile, it's just 2,000. But let us pay attention to index pages. This is how many pages Google indexed and how many it found. 1,000 pages are missing on mobile compared to desktop. What is that? What does it mean? It means that 30% of the efforts that travel blog puts into developing the content and everything will be wasted because it's never going to bring any traffic to them. Also, in order to get to the latest post on their blog, someone would need to click 200 times. Can you imagine yourself clicking 200 times in order to read an article? I know that I have more important things to do, such as wash my cat. Also, what is the issue? There were no category navigations. Most mobile pages had two canonicals. Structured data was missing, and some other things. And this is not the only example, because there are still many big websites who still have a separate mobile version. Let us take a look at Sephora. Everyone, I think, in this room knows Sephora, and it's a big brand, and I love Sephora. My friend got for me a very nice gift, so I certainly looked into Sephora. And as you can see, their versions, desktop is to the left and mobile to the right. They look very nice and identical. Let's give them credit. However, when we looked at the backhand, their mobile version had 10 times more errors and warnings than desktop version. Just think about it. 10 times more. And the issues are very simple to fix. A lot of pages are non-secure, internal links are broken, and so on. Very often we pay attention to those things when it comes to desktop. However, we forget about them when it comes to mobile. Responsive a website is one of the ways to go. And when it comes to responsive, however, we need to be mindful also. Here I was analyzing a responsive website. You can see the visibility of the site using mobile agent and desktop agent. Desktop agent is on the top blue line and mobile agent is down. And you can see the visibility was lower on mobile than desktop. Right now you may not care about that. However, with mobile-first indexing, you probably need to pay attention to that. And I checked their speed also. This could be one of the issues. Their speed on desktop, it's poor. It's okay, actually. It's medium. But on mobile, it's really bad. And we'll be discussing about the importance of speed a little bit later. So how do you ensure that you're fully prepared for mobile-first indexing, that it's already here? Google started switching companies already at the end of last year. And right now, Google is switching all the companies. And you don't know when it's going to switch your company from desktop to mobile index. You will receive a notification that Google will tell you, we did it, but it may be too late. So first, it's make sure that the content is the same on mobile and desktop, and also structured data would be the same on mobile version as well as desktop version. Make sure to use a site audit. There is a site audit that SEMRush had, Deep Crawl, Bodify. You also have some data in Search Console. And mobile there as a device, it's crucial because it's going to give you perspectives in Google's eyes, how it looks everything on using mobile agent. And here, I want to mention about visibility, because this is important. If you're not tracking your rankings, probably you should, and at least try to look at it from mobile's perspective, because if your rankings go down, at least you can quickly make changes. And lastly, on the sections, is about using interstitials, those pop-ups that we don't like. So be very careful because Google penalizes us. Now, I'm sure you have a little bit better understanding of mobile-first indexing and where we are right now and where Google is going with this direction. But let's talk about speed. And why is speed important? Because first, it's already a ranking factor starting July. However, when we at SEMRush analyzed massive amount of websites, a lot of them have issues. More than 80% of them have issues that can negatively affect their speed. Your website could be one of them. And here are some of the issues. I put a link there, so if you want, you can go to SEMRush blog and read the whole research that we have conducted. And you will get the idea, and if you are not very technical, if you forward this to your development team, they will know how to fix it. But why is speed overall important besides the fact that this is a ranking factor? Because it can have a big influence on your bottom line. Just take a look at Amazon. When Amazon speed changes just 1/10 of a second, Amazon loses over $1 billion per year. And speed has similar impact on your website. Walmart, Yahoo are other examples. You can go to Think with Google and see how your website is ranking compared to other companies. Here, I just took Outback and some other companies that in my area where sometimes I have lunch, and you can see Outback speed is 20 seconds. But how many of us are going to wait for 7 seconds? So despite the fact that very often we talk about speed being important, however, 70% of all pages take longer than 7 seconds to load. Let's think about this. 7 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Are we going to wait for 7 seconds for a page to load? That is why more than 50% of us are going to leave a website if it takes longer than just 3 seconds to load. And where do those people go? Of course, they go to a competitor site instead and would be very unlikely to come back to your site. Here's a tool that you can use to analyze your speed a little bit deeper, Page Speed by Google. And it's going to tell you a breakdown as well as your speed on mobile and desktop, as well as how to fix the pages you have with errors. And you can use different site audit tools similar to SEMRush. And we are going to give you a breakdown also. What are the challenges that you have right now on the website and how to fix them. And in addition to that, I want to share with you a new technology. If you're in the industry, probably it's not as new because it has been around for 2 years. However, it's so popular right now, and Google is pushing it really heavily because it's accelerated mobile pages. It's developed by Google, Facebook, and some other tech companies. And according to Google, it makes pages 85% faster. We were just talking about importance of speed. And here, people would have amazing experience because your pages would load quickly. At the beginning, Google was targeting primarily publishers with a lot of content. However, right now, also e-commerce websites. And look at the stats. People who come through AMP pages stay twice as much on your website as if they go to a regular page. Also, from e-commerce perspective, businesses see 20% increase in conversions. Here is AMP, and I think everyone of us have seen AMP. It's a lightning in bold logo. It appears in the search carousel as a regular result, as well as a SERP feature. And currently, over 4 billion AMP pages has been created, and over 25 million websites are using AMP. I was updating this slide because I had a similar one in my other presentation from last year, and actually this number changed from 900 domains to 25 million domains. Just to give you perspective. Here are some of the top brands that are using AMP. And now let me give you a couple of case studies. Thrillist, it's a publishing company, and they converted 90% of their content and started using AMP. And they saw 70% lift in organic traffic. And 50% of that they attribute to using AMP. Also, Chatbit conducted a really deep study. They analyzed 50,000 publishers because this is a publishing platform, and they saw that companies that started using AMP saw 100% increase in traffic versus those who didn't use it. Despite the fact that Google says that AMP is an obvious solution that you are not required to use, however, still Google gives preferences to AMP pages. That is why you probably should at least consider for your website. And here is an example of a commerce website. eBay, 1-800-Flowers, and many other websites has been using it. But let's just focus on a smaller company, Camp Moore. It's a New Jersey-based company, not too far from where I live. And you can see, after implemented accelerated mobile pages, their speed has changed drastically. It was 25 seconds, and it became just 0.62 seconds. This is a big difference. But what astounded are the actual results. Because they saw SERP physicians go up, also 43% in click-through rate, and decrease in bounce rate. Those results are outstanding. Because if you're doing SEO, or overall, if you want to get more business to your website, it's really hard for us to get results like this. So how do you know if AMP could be potentially a good solution for you? If you're a publisher or a business, you certainly can use AMP. And when I'm saying publisher, if you produce a lot of content, you still can benefit. It doesn't have to be publisher, just in standard terms. Also, if your site speed is low right now, then AMP could be certainly a solution. And I wanted to mention that AMP may have some limitations, but Google has been pushing really hard. So before you try to adopt AMP, make sure to see what functionality you can make available, because you want to have seamless experience for your users. And lastly, if your competitors are using AMP. But how do you know if your competitors are using AMP? You can use different websites, and I'm going to give you an example on SEMRush. As you can see, this is position tracking report for all recipes domain. All recipes started tracking all the most important keywords for their business. and they put them on the left. And they have two competitors, Food Network and My Recipes. I highlighted their rankings. And where there is a lightning bolt logo, those are keywords that their competitors are ranking for and use AMP. What it means is that next time Google is going to show a keyword that is important for your business, and if your competitor is using AMP, they would be very likely to show up for it. Probably if they're ranking for those keywords using AMP, you may also consider that. How do you install AMP? If you use a WordPress or another widely used CMS, so it's easy, you just install the plugin. However, if you have a custom-built website, then you would need to put a little bit more efforts, your development team, and understand AMP solution more thoroughly. The most important part is, again, it's about the user, and make sure you create seamless experience for them. Here's the website. They started using AMP, and you can see AMP page is to the right, and regular page is to the left. They look like so different. It looks like two different websites. However, it doesn't have to be the same. Using AMP, you can still create pages that are very identical. And the key would be to have the same content. Because if the content is not the same, Google can penalize you for that. Because we as marketers very often try to trick Google, and in the past this was an issue. And now that is why Google is trying to penalize everyone who didn't follow the guidelines. Here are some of the most common issues that we found at SEMRush. And usually it's because the websites don't follow the guidelines set up by Google. In order to make those pages faster, of course, there are certain guidelines we need to follow. But even if you didn't do the best job you can at the first try, you still can check and see if you have any errors and how to fix that. There is Google AMP tool that you can validate all your pages with, as well as you can use SEMRush Site Audit or another Site Audit. I mentioned Site Audit already a couple of times, so you can see how valuable this tool is. And you can validate all the pages. It's going to give you all the errors your website has related to AMP. And now you know that speed is important. And because of speed, you can make additional revenue or you can lose it. And just think about like a small change in speed can have such a big impact on your bottom line. Because sometimes we focus, oh, we need more content. We need to fix all the technical errors. We need to invest more resources in paid. Yes, you do need to do that. But sometimes we don't pay attention to very obvious things, and this is speed. And now let's talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning. I really like this quote by CEO of Google. Mobile first is where we have arrived. AI first is where we are going. Just think about this. And when we're talking about Google and AI in relation to Google, it's all about user intent. It's about Google getting smarter and smarter to give us what we want. Because of course Google wants to keep us on its search engine and want us to continue using it. And how would it do that? If we are happy. And that is why Google is trying hard to understand our intent and what we want. Let me give you a couple of examples. Here, I type hairstyle ideas. And Google is smart enough to understand that I don't want to buy a product, I don't need the location, I just want pictures to understand how I want my hair to look like. And that is why all the results that you can see on the screen are images primarily. Actually, they're all images. And if you click on one of those results, you will see additional images as well as a little bit of text. But look how drastically the situation changes as soon as I type hairdryer. It's also the product kind of related to hair, but Google understands that I'm considering buying something. That is why, as you can see, even the first results from Google Shopping is give me prices. And most of those results are results that allow me to buy a product. And some of them gives reviews. Because reviews come a long way with products. Very often users just want to understand how good is this product or what are the best products out there. And Google is using RankBrain, that is a machine learning artificial intelligence system that Google uses to sort through the results. And this is how it works. You type something in Google, Google makes a hypothesis what exactly you're looking for. And then it's going to validate it. It's going to give you results, and it's going to learn from your behavior. Your behavior is click-through rate, also bounce rate, how long you stay in the page. And then it's going to give you probably suggestions, as you can see over here. People also ask. Those are the terms that Google knows that are similar. And by this, Google is going to learn more and more about you and other users. And according to SEMRush research, this is ranking factor study. Actually, we did a really, really deep analysis of ranking factors. I put a link there, so if you want to learn what Google takes into consideration when it ranks websites, I would encourage you to check it out. But signals such as time on website, as well as bounce rate, all of this is important. And the question for all of us, how do we optimize for RankBrain? There are many things that could be done, and if you read, there are a lot of potential solutions, so it could be the whole session by itself. But today, we will be focusing on optimizing for natural language and voice search. And Dennis mentioned about voice being big. And it's not big just for smaller generation. It's also people in their 40s and 50s are using voice search. We all get used to ask our personal assistant about the closest pizza shop to us or something else. And currently, 20% of all searches are mobile and are voice searches, and this trend is going to continue. More and more of us will be conducting searches using voice. And it's very different than when we conduct searching on desktop. Because on desktop, we just type a short phrase. Using voice, we ask questions in Google, then would like to understand that. We ask questions such as, who is the richest man in the country? Or, where can I buy a cake? Or something else. And what do we want? Of course, we want direct answers. And Google found a way to do that. Google started showing feature snippets to us. And probably many of us are familiar with feature snippets. This is an example. And overall, feature snippets is the result that Google is going to read back to us. And it's very often called a position 0. It's over the top of the first, second, and third position. And it could be a great source of traffic. And this is a very interesting stat related to feature snippets, because 40% of searches, voice searches, trigger feature snippets. And it's either will be your website or it's going to be your competitor's website. That is why when people use in voice searches, you want your website to come back within feature snippets. Here are some of the things that you can do to optimize for that. First is cover the topic in detail. However, as you know, feature snippets limits the number of texts that you can see, the number of words. And here are some of the stats. We analyzed all the feature snippets. It was a big study, and you can see, on average, about 44 words are contained in feature snippets. And it could go up to 100. That is why probably the best way would be just to keep the answer to a question between 40 and 60 words. Also, what you can do, create numbered and unnumbered lists. As you probably know, very often you search something and there is a list coming up. And you ask how to tie a shoe, and Google will give you step-by-step directions about how to do something. And that is why you want to create lists. And here are also some of the best practices related to lists. Usually the maximum number of items, it's 8, and average is 5. And there are a few more things that could be done, such as related using the relevant images. Because very often, in more than 40% of the cases, Google actually returns images, such as the pictures that I showed you. There was a nice image of coffee. And lastly, provide Q&A. It's very easy Everyone can do that. Just create question and answer section on your website. And then when people ask questions, Google will be much better able to understand that this is the question and this is the answer. Overall, it's all about content, depth and width. And it's optimizing your content, optimizing your images. And here are some stats in addition to what I just shared about feature snippets. How likely would you show up in feature snippets? Usually, if you're ranking really high in position from 1 to 5, then the likelihood is much higher, as you can see. 94% of all results that you see in feature snippets coming from positions from 1 to 5. And now I'm going to share a quick secret with you. I know this graph looks very complicated, but the idea is that if you optimize for questions phrases such as how and what, you will be much more likely to show up in feature snippets. Let me share how you can do that, how you can make research. How can you approach this in a smart way? Because this is what we want to be. We want to be smart about how we do things. Here I'm typing caipirinha. I was recently in Brazil and I decided, let me try their national drink because I heard a lot of great things about this. And if someone would like to target me and all my voice searches related to caipirinha, this is the process they would go through. I'm using keyword magic tool that we have at SEMRush. You just type caipirinha. SEMRush is going to return to you a list of keywords that have caipirinha in them. And then you just choose SERP features over there, feature snippets. And SEMRush is going to give you actually the list of keywords related to caipirinha that trigger feature snippets. You can do the same for your business. It doesn't matter what you're selling or what services you're offering. And after that, if you want to be more specific, you just type, let's say, a question phrase, what there, or just click questions a little bit about that. And SEMRush is going to give you a list of phrases that don't just contain caipirinha, that show up in feature snippets, but also have questions phrases. And those will be the easiest solutions for you to go about analyzing what keywords you can potentially optimize for feature snippets. And this is me in my caipirinha. Now, let's talk about another thing related to intent very heavily. You probably noticed that the web has changed so much. In the past, we just saw 10 blue links, and we were happy with that. But not anymore. It's again coming back to direct answers to our questions. And as you can see, Google has featured snippets, it has local pack, it has reviews, and all other elements. At SEMRush, we analyze the web all the time, and we always see this number increases. When I did the same report a year ago, it looks very different from what it is right now. And I updated it just a few days ago. 95% of all SERPs have SERP features that you can see on the page. And this is how our page looks like now. I made just a query for Tesla. I wish I had one, but unfortunately I don't, so I can just make a query for that. But you can see how different the results are. That we have all these colorful elements. And one of the best ways to optimize for this is to use schema. Schema gives Google better understanding what is your website is about. Because we may think that Google is smart. Yes, it is, but not as smart as we want it to be. That is why if you want Google to know that this is a recipe, or this is a book, or this is something else, ideally you would tell Google that. You can use, let's say, AMP schema. This allows for a website to show up in the carousel on the top and the bottom, as you can see. Organizational schema is going to give Google more information about your website, and it will be much more likely to include it in the knowledge graph. Website schema would allow users to conduct searches on your website on Google directly without going to your website. Local business schema. This is very crucial for all the local businesses, and especially considering the fact that when people conduct voice searches, 40% of them have local intent. And they would be very likely to visit your business in the next 24 hours. And local schema certainly can help with that. Let me give you also some competitive intelligence here. How you know what your competitors are doing. Because if your competitors are doing certain things, you could probably consider doing this as well, or at least keep it in mind. That is why, let's say, you type your competitor, I put Walmart there, and I know all the sort of features that Walmart showing up in Google for. And I know that reviews is very crucial for them. If, let's say, I want to know deeper about reviews, what do? I conduct a deeper search and use some filters. As you can see, number 3 step, you just use filters. I want to see all the keywords that trigger reviews for Walmart. You can do the same for your competitor, and you will see the list of keywords that trigger reviews here. And sometimes we may think, oh, this all sounds complicated. How am I going to do that? If you have a development team, they can implement this for you. Another easy way is to use structured data markup helper that Google makes available to all of us. And it's extremely easy. You just highlight elements on your page. As you can see, if you highlight phone or you highlight your address, then Google is going to generate the code for you that you can insert on your website. It's as easy as it sounds. And then we cannot just leave it like this. We need to validate and make sure that what we created is actually correct and relevant. And that is why you would use structured data testing tool. And also, after Google starts indexing your pages, you are still going to see if you have any errors. The most important part is just to go to Search Console, make sure you analyze that, and fix this. In conclusion, as you can see, the web has changed. Search has changed so drastically. As Google is keeping up with us as users in our behavior. And right now, there has been a big change, mobile first. If you haven't done anything to optimize for this, probably you should reconsider. Also, speed. We covered speed. Speed is a small thing that you can do in order to increase your traffic, increase your revenue. And artificial intelligence and machine learning. Google is using RankBrain, and Google is getting smarter. And one of the ways to optimize for this is to optimize for natural language and optimize for feature snippets, as well as give Google more context. What is your website about? And use schema. And I would like to leave you with this. WIIFM. What's in it for me? But it's not about you. It's about your customer. If you create the best experience in the most flexible way for your customers, they are going to love you, and Google is going to reward you with this. Thank you. I appreciate your time. If you have any questions, I will be available.